Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
All right, we're here for another episode of Measuring Success Right, and today we're here with a special guest named Hollis Hunt. He is a BYU student studying experience design management and works at a non-profit formerly known as HUFY but now called HXP. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you. It's good to be here, Lucy.
It's always a pleasure. Let's talk about you.
Wow.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and why you're studying what you're studying.
So I am from Riverton, Utah. Actually, just 30 minutes up the road, not too far. Yeah, just a Utah boy. And yeah, just like you said, I'm studying experience design. I love experience design. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically facilitating and creating experiences within a business setting. So all we're doing is creating these experiences within a business and outside of a business. And that's basically what I do at my job at HXP. We create these trips for youth and lead these trips all around the world. And it's a dream. I love my job. It's awesome.
Yes. Me and Hollis both did HUFY this last summer. Well, you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. But that is very true. They put a lot of effort into making sure that what the people working there feel like is what they want the people that come on the trips to feel like.
True. Yeah, Lucy was a trip leader in West Virginia. She was a cowboy over the summer, which is great. I was able to lead a trip in Kenya. And what's cool is we have trips within the States and internationally. So that's kind of a cool aspect this past summer.
Mm-hmm. So true. It's literally the best experience you'll ever have. So if you're listening and you want to sign up, hurry up because
Amen.
They're running out of time. You're running out of time.
Yes, running out of time. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, today I wanted Hollis to come on this podcast because he started something called the Treehouse Talks. So I'm not going to explain it. You do the explaining. What is Treehouse Talks and how did it start?
So Treehouse Talks is something that started last year, actually. I was with a couple of my friends, and we were all having a really kind of uplifting conversation. We were talking about things we were passionate about. And I live at a place called the Treehouse. It's right by Brick Oven, has a tree painted on the door. It's got some big trees in the back, hence the name, the Treehouse. And we were talking about things we were passionate about. And my friend, Meg, she was like, wow, like I love how we feel when we talk about these things. We should start something where we invite our friends to prepare these PowerPoints and just share things they've learned from their life or their story. And so we did it. We literally got this janky projector, got this tarp to put on the wall, and we had 4 friends present things they were passionate about. And like 30 people came, and we posted it on Instagram, and people just loved it so much. And we decided we wanted to do it again next week, and we're like, what are we going to call this? And we're like, well, people are talking, and we're at the Treehouse. We'll just call it Treehouse Talks. And it kind of blew up from there. We started having it every week, and we had it like 4 to 5 times till COVID shut us down last week. It was really sad. Not last week, last year. And we brought it back again the beginning of this next summer, and it exploded. We're averaging like 300 to 350 people coming and listening to these people talk and share what they're passionate about. And it's been really cool. It's like this TED Talk-esque like thing, but for college students.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so the first one you did, how many people were there?
Like 30 probably.
And then how many the next time?
The next time like 40, then it was 50, and then the last time we had it last summer was like 100 people.
So you started it during COVID?
Yeah. And
how many Treehouse Talks did you have before this year, do you think?
Before this year? Probably like 5 or 6, I'm guessing. Yeah,
so it really blew up like this year?
Yeah, it really like blew up this year, but we were getting a lot of momentum last year.
And then from then, actually before that, I want to know what are some of the most memorable talks people have given? Like just a few.
Well, it's kind of funny. Last year, one that I remember, like, what's cool about Treehouse Talks is everyone can come in and literally share about anything. Anything from catfishing to eating disorders to literally someone a couple weeks ago sharing about how they were an illegal drug dealer as well. One that was so funny last year was I had a friend, his name is Kelton. He shared about catfishing and how to become an expert catfisher. Lucy, do you know what catfishing is?
I do know what catfishing is.
Have you been catfished?
I haven't, and I haven't catfished anyone.
Really? Well, he shared about an experience of him catfishing me. And that was the basis of his talk. He was talking about catfishing and experience he had catfishing me, pretending to be a 19-year-old girl, track star at Dixie State, and he got me real good.
Text.
Yeah, so he was texting me, pretending to be this girl, and we were driving home from St. George to Provo, and all my friends were hyping me. I was like, oh, this girl's so into you. I'm like, yeah, whatever. She's a little young. But I was still talking to her because it was just fun. And then like 2 hours later, she asked to FaceTime me. I'm like, dang, this girl is confident. She wants to FaceTime already. And she FaceTimed me and I answered it. And it was just 4 shirtless guys just laughing at me.
Oh my,
Yeah.
that's awful.
Pretty awful.
So what was his lesson, I guess, from that?
Honestly, his lesson was not to be deceived and how you can be an expert deceiver and being on the end where you're actually deceiving people, which is actually really interesting how to avoid that. What's really cool about these Treehouse Talks is no matter what topic it is, it can be fun, it can be serious, but the main purpose of Treehouse Talks is to bring people together. We have actually like a motto or slogan, you can call it, and it's connect with peers, learn diverse ideas, and leave more aware. And we came up with that slogan literally the second time we had Treehouse Talks, and it's been our slogan ever since.
Yeah, I actually love that. When I first went to the first Treehouse Talks, after that I like invited every person I knew, because actually a lot of the time when you like socialize and spend time socializing, it can be fun, but you don't actually leave with a lot. Versus after Treehouse Talks, I felt inspired, and you meet some amazing people that come because they're kind of looking for that.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about Treehouse Talks. It's kind of creating a community wherever you're at. It's bringing these people who have stories. And it's really cool to hear these people that you see every day, but you don't really see this part of them. I think we have a lot of surface level conversations, a lot. And Treehouse Talks provides a safe space for these people to come share what they're really passionate about and kind of some deeper, more vulnerable stories.
Yeah, and it inspires you to ask yourself, if I was to do this, what would I talk about? And then it makes you think, maybe I should start being a bit more passionate about something, or just giving something a little bit more effort.
I think this is
I still haven't come up with what I would talk about. But since it's blown up, you have then taken it to other places. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Treehouse Talks is basically, it can be anywhere, since it only consists of literally a projector, a screen, maybe a speaker, and people. And we've taken this idea of college students sharing what they're passionate about and taken it to the University of Utah, Utah State, and BYU Idaho. And it's been very successful, all 3 of those colleges. And we have plans to, in these next month or two, to expand to Washington, D.C., Arizona, Dixie State, BYU Hawaii, and SUU.
So you've taken it to all these different places. Obviously, in each place, there's going to be a different feel to it because everywhere has its culture. So what's your plan? Like, what things do you want to stay the same in every place, and what things are you willing to just let be?
That's a great question. So we have a leadership team here. It's me and 2 of my best friends. And we kind of talked about that. It's important to have a foundation, but it's also important to give other people ownership in these areas. Like talks you have here in Provo are going to be so much different than the talks you have in Salt Lake. We realize what's really important is the Treehouse Talks kind of culture that we've created. And what we mean by that is we really want Treehouse Talks to be a safe place where there's no agenda, there's no forced opinions, but it's a space for people to come listen and empathize. We really believe in the power of proximity brings more empathy and love to a community. And to be able to do that with kind of no boundaries and no agenda that's forced upon a community creates kind of a magic to a community and brings people together.
Yeah, that is actually amazing. Because so if someone listening to this wants to come to a Treehouse Talk, what are they to expect?
So when you come to Treehouse Talks, it's really cool. We have it usually in the evening, and kind of a trademark of Treehouse Talks is the lights. Every location that we have Treehouse Talks, there's lights there, and usually in someone's backyard. And when you go, you can expect about 3 to 4 speakers having prepared like a 10-minute talk with a presentation and a musical performance and some socializing. And that's basically what Treehouse Talks is. It's a very simple event where you have these people preparing these presentations to share with the community. And we really found it valuable to have music incorporated in that as well.
Mm-hmm. The music is so good. Like maybe it's just a Provo thing because everyone's so insanely talented at singing, but the music is so good and it adds like such a good feel to it.
Yeah, we realized that people can be more passionate than just sharing their voice, but sharing their musical abilities and sharing their talents as well.
That's so true. Yeah, earlier you were talking about how there's so many different like people that have talked about completely different things, and I was there for the one where that guy talked about being a drug dealer. It's just so interesting how it will be different in all different places, because like he brought it back to the gospel and how all the lessons he learned from that and how now he wants to serve a mission, versus like somewhere else like the gospel probably wouldn't come up as much, but at the same time you're still teaching like universal truths of that when you share and come together and understand and appreciate other people and their differences, you create a feeling of the light of Christ pretty much.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think one reason, honestly, that it attracts so many people is because ages 20 to 30 is the decade of decisions. Like you have all these people who are not really confident in kind of anything right now. And Treehouse Talks kind of creates a support system with all these different students coming together and really creating this network where they're able to listen to each other and grow from each other. Because we're like, okay, this is kind of similar to TED Talks, but not really. Like, what's the difference? Why is this so, like, good? And we realized that TED Talks, you have all these experts speaking from the top down. But with Treehouse Talks, you have these people who are around you, who are not experts, who are people that you see every day sharing about things they're passionate about. And having that every week creates kind of that bond that brings people together, and people want that and they kind of crave that connection.
Mm-hmm. Last time I spoke to you, you said that you're going to turn Treehouse Talks into a nonprofit. What's the plan now?
Yeah, so with Treehouse Talks, we're actually thinking of turning it into a B Corp, which is kind of like a nonprofit. It's kind of like a business with nonprofit goals and ambitions, which is really cool. And we're turning, Treehouse Talks into that in these next couple months. And we have a lawyer as well who's very willing to help us, and we're excited to do that. But we really feel like this is not only going to help Treehouse Talks, but it's going to help expand to a lot of different communities as well.
Mm-hmm. What's the dream?
Ooh, the dream. I feel like the biggest dream with Treehouse Talks is to expand it to every college campus in America. We really think that this is an idea that can help with the polarization going in the world right now, where you feel like you can only have one opinion. It really brings different people on different sides together and provides a space where you can just listen and understand. And you can 100% disagree with what's being said, and that's okay. Or you can be 100% on board with what's been people are talking about at these events. But the point is to listen and kind of empathize with those around you.
In class today, we were having like a gospel conversation in our advertising class, and we were talking about how the church could teach truths without it coming from a gospel standpoint, or implement something. Like, let's say I grew up in England, being the only member in my school, and all I wanted to do was fit in. And because of that, like sharing the church truths, like especially when it's like very church based, was like pretty hard to do, because then I felt even more separated. But this idea that if the church taught something, a universal truth, like for example, like this will bring down that polarization that's going on.
Yeah. And can I actually tell you a secret? I don't really share this, but Treehouse Talks, going along with what you're saying, Treehouse Talks is not about the talks. It's not about the speakers who prepare these things and share with everyone. Treehouse Talks is all about the talks that happen before and after. Those talks with people connecting before and after the event is all that it's about. And creating an environment where that can happen is where the magic happens. It's essential and it's important to have these speakers every week and have a good program. But the real magic happens before and after, where people are brought together and talking to each other about what was said, about bringing these different people that you would have not even thought about talking to and being able to interact with them. That's what I've really learned, that's where the magic happens. That's where the connection and belonging really starts.
Totally. What are some of the blessings you've seen since starting Treehouse Talks in your life?
That's a great question. Treehouse Talks kind of has blessed my life in so many different ways. In my life, I've made sure to prioritize two things besides God, and those are relationships and experiences. And those two things are fulfilled every single time Treehouse Talks happens. And I feel like a lot of people come to events and partake of the event, and it's awesome, but there's so much that happens behind the scenes. Being able to connect with others, develop a team, be able to develop these relationships with the speakers. And honestly, meeting all these different people with all these different stories has increased my perspective of the world. And honestly, it's increased my perspective of who God is. I feel like the more you hear other people's stories, the more you study other religions, the more you learn about what life has to offer, the larger percentage of understanding you have of God and who he is. And I've really kind of dipped into that lesson and that kind of perspective with Treehouse Talks.
Totally. I agree 100%. Christ, what he did for us, none of that would be possible. He wouldn't be able to plead for us on our behalf if he didn't understand. And just understanding other people's perspectives and listening to them just helps you understand God more and Jesus Christ. If you could give any advice to students listening to this that want to start something, business or just something they're passionate about, what would your advice be?
My number one advice would be don't be afraid to fail and just start. The most success I feel like I've had as a college student has been in realizing what makes me happy, taking that and doing it as a living. One question I always ask myself before doing anything is this worth stressing about? And Treehouse Talks is 100% something worth stressing about for me. And I love it to be able to do something that no matter how busy or no matter how demanding it is, asking myself, wow, this is worthwhile. This brings so much meaning to my life. And the more you surround yourself with things that bring you meaning, the more I feel like grateful you'll be. I feel like we try to chase a lot of things that make us happy, which is great. But I feel like chasing things that bring more meaning to our life will provide more value to us in the long run.
I love that. Yeah, this actually reminds me of something we were talking about again in my advertising class, that when you're coming up with ideas for an advertisement or for an insight you have, we always try and come up with this amazing, extravagant idea. But what are the small ideas? Just come up with idea after idea, and then that idea can become great as you develop it. Which, talking about Treehouse Talks, it's something that you wanted to do with your friends, and it didn't seem like, wow, this huge idea that was impossible, but all you did was started, and then from then on, people just loved it and came. I think that's a really good lesson for all of us, because we all have things we want to do, but we just don't start them because it seems like it will never happen or that you will fail. Which brings us to the final question of this podcast.
The
final question.
Wow.
Which is, how do you personally measure success?
That's a great question. I feel like one of the biggest factors of success in my life is what I am doing right now. Is it helping me love God and love others more? I have a screensaver on my phone that says, to do today: 1, love God; 2, love others. And I am fully convinced that every single experience that we have in this life and every single decision we make either helps us love God, love others, or love ourselves more. And in opposite, decreases our love for God or others or ourselves more. And I feel like I feel success every day, and I can feel that success every day. It's not really a finish line I'm looking towards, but a daily goal that I keep, a daily goal that I try to achieve. And that is the current thing I'm doing helping me achieve those 3 things. And I can go to bed every night successful if I've done that. And I feel like with that perspective of, is what I am doing now helping me love God and love others more, has led me to my job, has led me to Treehouse Talks, has led me to the relationships I've had. Because I know asking myself those 2 questions every day lets God know that I'm doing the right thing, and I can feel confident in that as well. And that's how I would measure success, is being able to tell myself that I am really respecting those 2 greatest commandments that God's given me.
So what you're basically saying is that you filter everything you do through your biggest values.
Yeah.
That is a perfect. I feel inspired. I need to go write down my values and start doing this. Like, what have I been doing? Like, literally just crying right now. Literally, like, what am I doing? There's so many things that I feel like I could cut out if I just filtered it through what my priorities are.
No, really. And like asking myself those 2 things has helped me kind of cut out like what really is necessary and what isn't, and what really is worth doing. And I think it's a great way to measure it, because that's the way it's been since the beginning.
Yes, because you have to choose what's worth your time. I feel like I choose to stress over the most silly things.
Yeah. Like cars breaking down.
That was a personal dig, everybody. Hollis, it's been such a pleasure to have you on this podcast and for you to share all your wisdom. I feel inspired. I'm sure the listeners feel inspired, and everyone, you better be at Treehouse Talks. It's on Thursday.
Yeah, so it's every Thursday at 9 p.m. at the Blake, since it's a little cold outside. But yes, thank you, Lucy, for allowing me to come here on this podcast. It's been great kind of talking about Treehouse Talks and kind of what I value. So thanks for giving this opportunity.
Of course. Thanks so much for joining today, and look forward to hearing from a special guest next week.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you never miss an episode. Be a friend and tell a friend about measuring success right.